You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again for episode 2 of the bi-weekly options extravaganza known around the globe as the Option Block. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the ever scintillating, ever compelling, ever insightful, ever fun, at least we hope so, Options Insider Radio Network, reminding you wherever you get this program, make sure if you do like what you hear, leave a rating, leave a review. It does help folks continue to discover the network. I'm always amazed. We've been doing this now this January, 16 years, our 16-year anniversary. Crazy. We could drive a car if we were born on the day we created the Options podcast space. We'd be driving by now. So insane times afoot and insane numbers of folks continuing to discover the network every month out there. So thank you to all of you longtime listeners who have rated and reviewed. It really does help the new folks discover. Welcome to all the new folks. We love you all out there. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, the network alone is not enough. Nearly a dozen options programs coming at you. That's not enough to satiate your need. We get you. We know there's hardcores out there. Then theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go for you. You get 200 plus hours of additional exclusive stuff. More stuff coming up later this week. So it should be fun over there. Of course, live access to this and everything else we do. Awesome giveaways. If you're join up before the end of the month, you get your name in the hat for the January Pro Trading Crate, as well as a whole bunch more. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. As we go around the horn and see who's joining me on the old OB today, it is a rare moment when the Rock Lobster steps foot outside of his beloved Maine. This time for not circumstances that are ideal, but nonetheless, he is soldiering on. He is joining us on the program today. The rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back to the show, sir.
It is good to be here. It is good to be here on the show. As you said, we could use a little levity and nonsense, and I could think of no better place to be than the Option Block.
Yes, it is our job to lift the Rock Lobster spirits today with a little bit of levity and nonsense. I think we can oblige him, because joining me also on the show today, the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the program. To you, sir.
I got plenty of nonsense. Happy to help.
All right, well, let's kick it off then with some fun nonsense. I can see in our chat here, Nichols and all them saying, even yesterday, looking forward to the WWE discussion of the show today. Yes, we did kick off things in a fun way on Monday by giving away the grand prize, the major award for our ongoing 80s wrestling guessing game. And Uncle Mike, I showed you the results of that. We've done a lot of things here on the network and on the Options Insider in our 16-plus year history now. Set a lot of records, made a lot of firsts, tens upon tens of millions of downloads around the world, all sorts of fun like that. You know what? All that, Mr. Uncle Mike, falls by the wayside this week. I think I hit the apex of my professional journey. See if you agree with me this week, because we were talking about our 80s wrestling guessing game, and we were giving away the much coveted, much heralded Sergeant Slaughter vintage G.I. Joe style figure. Well, none other than Sarge himself, Mr. Sergeant Slaughter, got wind of said giveaway, and he came in on Twitter to like and retweet us. So I am proud to say now, Uncle Mike, I am now followed by none other than Sergeant Slaughter himself. Doesn't get any better than that. How jealous are you, sir?
I'm impressed. I mean, I'm very impressed, but I'm honored to say that I was kind of a part of this. The Sarge was a legend back in his day, and it's very impressive.
I will say I forwarded on your comments about his Iraqi traitor status. He was none too fond of that. So I don't think Sarge is going to be showing up at your birthday party anytime soon. So that's all I'm saying.
What did the Sarge say?
He just says he's not a fan of that Iraqi traitor time, and anyone who brings it up is dead to him, I think were his exact words. So there we go.
I question whether you actually said that to him.
I may have implied it, but it all applies nonetheless. Mr. Rock Lobster, are you completely clueless? Do you have any idea what's going on here?
I saw something happening back and forth on Twitter. All I know is, once you guys start talking 80s wrestling trivia, my brain shuts down automatically. Because I can't compete at the level that you two are at.
Well, yeah, it was quite the highs and lows for all of us here on the Old School Wrestling Fan, because not only do we have the Sergeant Slaughter, which is obviously the apex of all the goodness, but then within 24 hours, the news comes out that Vince McMahon has fought his way back to the board at WWE, fired his child, his daughter, and now is perhaps dumped the whole thing off to the Saudis. As just a complete destroy my baby. If I can't have it, nobody else will either. The same Saudis who are trying to run a golf tournament and can't get air rights here in the U.S. His company, which is dependent on somewhere around $2.5 billion worth of licensing rights for the content, may now have to buy time to get airwaves in the U.S. if that is indeed going to come to pass. So it has been a turbulent 24 to 48 hours out there on the old wrestling front. The stock's been moving all over the place. We have a lot to get to. So let's get to some of that fun nonsense now. It is time for the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the trading block, the portion of the show where we get to what the heck is trading out there. And everyone was waiting for the CPI numbers to come out this morning. And they came out and they were better than expected, which you think would be off to the races kind of stuff for the market, because everyone's trying to back this in, of course, to what the Fed's going to do. This is the last announcement before the Fed speaks at the end of the month here on the CPI front. So seemed like it would be a banger. And initially, we were kind of selling off the news and we were kind of keeping our powder dry. Then we kind of markets vacillated for a bit early on. Now we are starting to shift more into the green mode. S&P threatening to break the 4,000 level, up about 0.5%. So we are in rally mode again. Dow up 0.8%. NASDAQ up 0.6% out there. That means any juice that was left in there ahead of the CPI numbers for VIX is getting squeezed out now. VIX threatening to break the 19 handle in the other direction, 19.1 as we kicked off the show, down 2.3 points from where it was this time last week, or I should say on Monday. VVIX actually up 1. Up to 76. So there we go. A whole point. VXX 1240 down about 1 point from last show. UVXY 565 down 0.6 points. Just headlong charging towards zero. SVIX 1660 actually gaining 1.1 points since Monday's show. UVIX 4.5 points down 0.6 point. So between UVIX and UVXY, UVIX almost has more than a full point lead now in the race to zero over there, but even though both of them are down 0.6 point since Monday's show. And Vol Q, aka the at the money vol of the NASDAQ 100, at about a 24 even when we kicked off the show. That puts it down about 2.5 points from where it was on Monday's show. So a lot to unpack there. Of course, the coveted number that everyone's waiting for. What's going on in the WWE stock land? $89.90, almost $90, up about 40 cents. So they did sell off yesterday on these Saudi rumors. Now it seems like they have shucked all that off. Talk about an insane performer. This stock was $67 just a couple of weeks ago. It is almost 90 now. Just the mad movements. This thing was already one of the best performers of last year. And now, just in the last month, it is up over 20%. Just insane times out here for this stock. This stock just keeps on roaring ahead. Controversy be damned. Let's go out now to the rockingest of lobster, Mr. Rock Lobster, sir. First off, give us your deep insight into all things WWE. And then if you have time, what's catching your eye from the markets and vol perspective, sir?
Well, didn't we discuss that that Vince was a massive fan of drama, and there's just no way he would write off quietly?
It did seem like he kind of surrendered easily. Yes.
Yeah. That guy he doesn't give up. So what is shocking is the Saudis buy WWE, and I'm quite sure that none of that content would be played in Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it would make it past whatever their censors are in that country. It could be a little risque at times. So I don't think that would quite suit the kingdom. But that was a little. I guess surprise is correct. The second thing, I guess, is what was the memo change from last week to this week? Like right around Christmas time, everybody's like, the Santa Claus rally's dead, and things are like, oh. And now all of a sudden, I'm seeing VIX print 1917, and we are 6 handles away from 4,000. So. What changed? It's quite remarkable, actually, and I can't put my finger on it. Maybe you guys saw something, but the only thing I could see is it looks like inflation is starting to slow down a bit, which is good. And the rate hikes, people I guess just got used to the fact that we had the terminal rate hikes. But other than that, what really has changed to get us out of the orbit of Mike TOSAW's 3,900 SPX? Is this enough for to start the march back north again? I'm at a loss on this one. What made the rally happen? All I know is when vol is as low as it was, it's hard to believe we can crash. That would be the only as an indicator, because I stayed a little long. And I'm just closed some calls today. And I'm still long a bunch of vol puts. Those magical puts in June, Mr. Longo, they could pay.
Yes, we are getting within spitting distance of that strike. I haven't pulled them up lately. What are they trading now?
I gotta pull them.
$5 at 10. Let's go.
The June, the 17 puts are 33 cents. The 19 puts are 91 cents. The 20 puts are $1.35. There you go. You could still get the June 16 puts for 20 cents if you were so inclined.
Well, I think we had the 15 puts, I do believe.
I think, do we do? Oh, yeah, the 15s are 710.
Those never move. They're waiting for their $5 bid.
Yes, it will be a while. We would have to go into the zone of the monk in order to for those to be worth $5. But it has happened before. I just can't see it happening in 2023. But who the heck knows? Ukraine? What Ukraine? What Russian war? What? You know what? Another thing? Look at natural gas prices. I literally 2 months ago we thought Europe was going to be frozen by the Russians, and now natural gas prices are back to zero. How do these things happen? I guess sharper minds could tell me, but I can't figure it out.
It is crazy times out there. You heard it here first. The Rock Lobster says those puts going to $5 bid. Load up. June 15 puts in VIX right now. Get all you can while the getting is good. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, how many of those puts do you have? And then B, what else is catching your eye out there in the market, sir?
I just load up on as many puts as I possibly can. Everything's going down. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. I screwed that up. I didn't know my mic was live. No, I think that definitely interesting with the Vince McMahon ordeal. I mean, at some stage, this could just, with Vince McMahon, this could just be something that he wants to play out and have this be fake news and cross the line from WWE into reality, making it something to where you don't know what to believe. That would not surprise me in Vince McMahon's world.
It is the kind of stuff that you would almost have a hard time believing the Vince character that he played 20 years ago would even do. It's that kind of far gone, and yet it's real life. It's funny. There will be books upon books written about this.
It really is. And so, I mean, I remember, so like the Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler story, what they did back in the early 80s when they did their thing on David Letterman. If you look at that, ever watch that documentary on that, or the movie was really good too with Jim Carrey. But on there, you didn't know what to believe. You didn't know what was real and what wasn't real. And so that might be what Vince is trying to do. You never know with that. So who knows? But in answer to Andrew's question, or just to add to what Andrew was saying earlier, what's changed? Well, I guess the new year has changed. Everything is awesome now in January. We have the fresh year, fresh attitude, and markets are excited, and we'll see where it goes with that. But other than that, we do have potential of maybe not raising interest rates. We've had a little bit of we have had a rally in stocks throughout the new year, but in keeping with bizarro world that we have been living in for the last quite a while now, we've had a rally in bonds as well. So in looking at IEF, it closed the year last year, which tracks the 7 to 10 year treasury at 95.78, and we're knocking on the door of 100 right now. So we almost have a 5% monetary increase in an ETF that tracks bonds over the course of less than 2 weeks. So that's something that is definitely raising my eyebrows for sure, from the fact that we got stocks and bonds moving in the same direction. It has to be something to do with interest rates. I think I'm stating the obvious. And so that's what this market's focused on, is what's going to happen with interest rates. The other interesting thing, of course, with the VIX being down almost 10% on the day, a lot of premium selling, apparently, either people selling their long positions or people opening up premium sale positions, whatever the case may be. But we definitely have that. Silver is up a little bit on the day so far. So we have a little bit of a rally in the precious metals. And then just in looking at everything, oil, of course, is still a big story. We're not quite at the 80 level. So we're not at the levels with which we were in the past in 2022. But it's still up there, and gas still is not cheap. It's cheaper, but by no means is it cheap. So we have that, and I really don't like Bitcoin in 2023. That's what I'm seeing today.
I got some more things to put a smile on your face, Mr. Rock Lobster. Oatly was printing 279 this morning.
You know what? It's still, it shocks me that it still owes me another $1.20. Of course, no stock owes you anything, but I'll do the dance when I see another $1.20. Okay,
I'm just saying, 280 it was hit yesterday at 280. Yeah, wow.
It is. You know what? Miracles do happen. And then when I did see that catchy ad in the airport, I knew Oatly's going places.
There you go. See, you see the ads I've been inundated with for years around here. Oatly's been advertising around Chicago for years, well before I think they were even public. So yeah, it was crazy town out there. But yes, $2.08 now. Giving a little bit of that back today, $2.66. Still about $1.30 north of where it was trading. So pretty much 2x what it was trading a few weeks ago. So crazy town out there in oat milk land. We'll get into more of that fun tomorrow on Options Oddities for all those of you who are intrigued and or appalled. Let's see what's going on out there in the major markets right now. And VIX, VIX putting up some numbers. It makes sense. CPI day is kind of like a surrogate Fed day. You expect to see some numbers out there, and we are seeing some numbers. 660,000 contracts on the tape. It's been a little while since we've seen VIX put up those kind of numbers. The ADV is starting to move back in the right direction, back up from its seasonally low, right around 500,000 contracts, up to about 550,000 right now. So looking a little bit more robust out there. SPY, same deal, 6.5 million contracts out there. The ADV, 8.17 million contracts. So they seem to be on pace to hit their number out there. SPX, 1.85 million. How much you want to bet that 90% of that is 0 day? Let's go look and have fun really quickly. By the way, the ADV is 2.57 million out there. And you know what, listeners? It's a little bit different. I'm looking at the top 20 most actives right now. I see 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it looks like you know what? That's the top open interest. Let me go to the most active. Let me see. I think that I hit the wrong button. That makes more sense. All right, there we go. And the top positions, I thought, why is everyone slinging March and June today? But in the actual top positions that are going up right now, the most active contracts in SPX today, let's see if we can find any that aren't expiring today. And yes, I found one. There is one Jan 4,000 call expiring on the 20th. Outside of that, 19 of the top 20 expiring today. Let's go a little bit farther out. Let's go to the top 40. And I see 1, I see 2, 3, 4. So total of 5 of the top 40 are not expiring today. Again, just a very different product than it was even a few months ago out there, listeners. Crazy town. So of that 1.85 million, probably close to 1 million of that, at least, in the zero DTE fund. Small caps also playing ball. 714,000 contracts on the tape for IWM. The ADV, 762. The Qs, 2.1 million contracts. The ADV, 2.7. So everything seems to be on pace to hit or exceed their ADV today. Let's go out to the single names. Sometimes in these big kind of macro days, the single names get forgotten, listeners. Let's see if that's the case today. And the answer is no, not really. 225,000 contracts is what it cost you to break into the top 10 today. That is nothing to sneeze at. It's not 350, but it's not 150 either. That gets us to our old friend, I guess you can call him still king of the memes. I don't know. AMC. Are they still the reigning king of the memes? Trading $5.20 right now, up about 30 cents today. You know the trajectory on AMC. A year ago was trading $22. Got as high as $34 in March of last year. $5 right now, and the low for the year is actually $3.77. So it has rebounded from its lows. And again, good today for 225,000 contracts. Let's look really quickly and see what the meme kids are slinging out here in AMC. The big dog out there today, the Jan 5s expiring tomorrow. 28,000 of those have gone up, followed by the Jan 5 halves also expiring tomorrow. 15,000 of those, and 14,000 of the 4 half puts also expiring tomorrow. So a lot of very near dated paper going up here in AMC, listeners. That's about 60,000 contracts, close to it, just in those right there. Number 9, the Rock Lobster's favorite name out there. This is good old Softy, 291,000 contracts. 238.88, up 310 right now. A pretty nice bounce from their 52-week low of 213.43. They hit that. Let's see. They hit 222 back on January 5th. Where did they hit that low? That looks like that low came in November. November 3rd is when they hit that 213 level. So they have rebounded nicely off their low out there for Microsoft and doing nearly 300,000 contracts today. Another name that has rebounded off their at least near-term low, whether they're going to test it again. That's up to you, I guess. But Meta, 136.25, up 340. Good for number 8 today, 334,000 contracts. You guys know the drill. Was trading $88 when we ran that poll on it. It has never looked back. 136.25 right now. My goodness. Meta, good for 334,000 contracts. Number 7, a name we haven't seen in our top 10 in quite some time. Not really since kind of the dark days of the new variants of COVID and just the madness of that was all of that impacting travel and everything. Of course, we're talking about American Airlines. For a while there, we saw a lot of paper that made it seem like American was just going the way of the dodo. American, good for 362,000 contracts today, up $1.40, a little over 9, about 9.1%. Trading 16.75. They're also off their low for the year of 11.65. Let's see, when did they hit that? It's like they hit that back in September. So they've been trying to rally this a few times. They rallied it since September up to about $15 on November 10th. Then it sold off again to almost that low, $12.32 on December 28th. And ever since then, it has rallied nicely, up about $4.40 from that December 28th low. So nice little pop here for American Airlines, and good for 362,000 contracts today. Number 6. Now we're getting to the chip zone. AMD listeners, 372,000 contracts today. Almost $71, up about nearly $2 on the day. A nice bounce off their 52-week low of $54.50. Looks like that came back in October as well. So they've been trying to bounce this one for a while. Again, good for 372,000 contracts. Right behind it, it's Chip Zone Compatriot coming in at number 5. It's NVIDIA, 437,000 contracts. 163.70 is where it's trading, up about $3.70 today. So nice pop for them today, up about 2.3%. They are also well above their 52-week low, which came at 108.13. That was also back in October 14th, so the same time as AMD. Number 4, the name that apparently everyone had written off, said this one was going the way of the dodo. It is Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh, my goodness, $4.36. 704,000 contracts for them at number 4. I guess the reports of their demise are greatly exaggerated. My goodness, they got down to $1.27 very recently, and looks like they were heading the way of the dodo. Wow. Short squeezes, bankruptcy bets, all sorts of madness out there. Wow. This thing almost 4x from its nadir just a couple of days ago. Wow. Bed Bath & Beyond, alive and well, 704,000 contracts. Let's look really quickly, listeners. Let's just take a peek, see what folks are slinging out there today. The number 1 contract, the Jan 5s expiring tomorrow. Sounds like the other name we were just talking about. 58,000 of those have gone up today, followed by 41,000 of the Jan 4 halves. The 4 halves almost at the money calls, the 5s near out of the money calls, and then 36,000 of the Jan 4s. My goodness. So you're talking about 140,000, close to it, of contracts just in those 3 strikes alone. Man, Bed Bath & Beyond. Interesting. Let's go out. Wow, number 3. Number 3 is the fruit company, Apple, 843,000 contracts. I haven't seen Apple at number 3 in a while. It's actually off today, off about a point, 132 and about a half. It has rallied about $8.5 or so from its low, which was a little bit north of 124 not too long ago. But not liking whatever just came out. This stock just took a beating. It was just trading about 134 not too long ago, and all of a sudden it just fell off a cliff here. So I'm not sure what news just came out about Apple, but I know they're making some changes with their screen suppliers. Looks like some news just broke for them in the last few minutes. That's knocked them off $1.50. So intriguing stuff. Apple actually red on the day right now. Good for 843,000 contracts. Number 2, the Amazonians, 868,000 contracts, 94.70, off about 40 cents today. Again, good for 868,000. And you know what the number 1 is, listeners. It's Tesla, $1.61, 1.61 million contracts, listeners. Tesla also red today, trading a little bit shy of 120, 119.90, off 330 or 268 in terms of percent, 2.68%. The low was 101, almost 102, so they have bounced nicely off that, about 18 handles. But still, intriguing stuff out there as we keep on rolling. See if we can find some more intriguing stuff. Listen, actually, before I get to that really quickly, let's see if we got any earnings, because, of course, it is that time of year, listeners. Earnings season kicking off with gusto again. Who do we have reporting this week? Well, Monday we had Tilray and WD-40. Tuesday we had Albertsons, KB Home. And then it kicks off proper, as the kids say, on Friday with a Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Delta, Citi, Wells Fargo. When we start to see the financials popping off, that's when you know kind of earnings season proper has begun again. So because we like you folks, we've got a whole new rash of reports out here for you folks, including hot off the presses. We had KB Homes yesterday after the bell. We have the earnings move results, all this stuff freshly updated from our friends over there at Oratz. KB Homes was popping off after the bell yesterday. They went into their announcement about $36. They're pricing in 6.2%. They delivered 3.6%. I have a feeling we'll be coming back to them in a little bit out there, trading 34 2/3 when we ran this report out there. We also had a Taiwan Semiconductor popping off this morning before the bell. 81 3/4 is where they were going into there now. So they're pricing in 4.8%. We know there's been some vol in the semi space of late, and they delivered 5.8%. And right now, they've actually, they've moved even more. They're at 86.5 when we ran this report. They're trading 87.68 right now. So they popped over $1. So they have exceeded their straddle out there as well. Intriguing stuff out there, listeners. Let's wrap it up with Infosys here really quickly. They were this morning before the bell. 1812 is where they were going into there now. So they're pricing in 4.5%. They delivered a whopping 0.5%. So dramatic underperformance out there. This is an Indian IT company here. Names that are popping off this week. We got all the big names re-racked and ready to go for you here, listeners, on our earnings report for you. Let's go to Bank of America tomorrow before the bell. 34.40 is where they were trading. They were pricing in $1.32. In the past, they've moved 106. So extra juice there. Citigroup. All these are tomorrow before the bell, unless I say otherwise here. 48 3/4 is where they were trading when we ran this report. They're pricing in $1.78. In the past, they've moved to $1.70. So not a heck of a lot of extra juice there. JP Morgan, 139.60 is where they were trading. They're pricing in 4.35. In the past, they've moved 3.47. So a decent smattering of extra juice there. Let's go a little bit beyond tomorrow now. Let's go to United Airlines next week, the 17th. 47 3/4 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $3. In the past, they've moved 2.68. So a little bit of extra juice. Let's go out to the former bellwether that used to kick off earnings season. This is Alcoa. They're on the 18th after the bell. You know, the aluminum folks out there. $52 is where they were trading. They're pricing in about $3.50. In the past, they've moved $3.94. So pricing in a little bit less juice out there. Maybe some of the volatility in that sector coming off a little bit. Let's go out one more to Netflix on the 19th. 327.25 is where they were. They were pricing in $31.30. In the past, they've moved $34.62. So $3.31 worth of less juice this cycle. Is that merited? Should they be pricing in more? We'll have to wait and see. What do you folks think out there, listeners? By the way, we haven't re-racked the new season yet, so we're still waiting for it to kick off proper next week. But in the meantime, last season averaged out now at about a 114%. That week 2 is still just a ridiculous outlier at 221%. I've never seen anything like that. I don't know if we will again. Kind of a weird week. Only 53 firms reporting, so a small sample size as well. That helps to kind of skew those numbers a little bit. Overall, the season as a whole, 114%. Well above our average now of around 92%, which continues to creep up cycle after cycle out there. And we are still monitoring for your trading pleasure and education and information. 37 long straddles and 19 long calendars over there for your trading information. Plan to add a bunch more once the season proper kicks off. As we keep on rolling, it is time to kick off the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, time to get weird, time to get wild, time for the Odd Block. And we mentioned on Monday's show, listeners, that we might be able to come back to this trade by the end of the week, because we talked about on Monday's show, listeners, someone coming in and scooping up some downside puts over there in KB Home, ticker symbol KBH. I just mentioned them in the earnings vol breakdown there. Trading $34.88 right now, off about $1.06 on the year. You know, it's been an interesting year for this whole sector. A year ago, it was trading close to $50, $50.20. Then it sold off from there to its low of 24 3/4 roughly on June 17th. They tried to rally it in August to $33.50. That failed. It sold off again in September, back down to about $25. And then since late September, they've managed to rally this thing all the way back up to about almost $36. Then it has fallen off a little bit over the last few sessions, back down to $34.88. And back on Monday's show, we talked about someone coming in. It's like they were a little bit spooked about the earnings because they scooped 5,000 of the Feb 32 puts The stock at the time was $34.82. And the intriguing thing about this, the reason why we said we might know the answer to these puts pretty soon, is that earnings were on the 11th. So they were yesterday, as we just talked about, listeners. So this was clearly one of the incentives for people to put these on. Now, obviously, they didn't just buy Jan. They went out a little bit farther. They bought themselves February as well. So they paid almost $1 for these, 99 cents, 5,000 times. So it's about a 47 vol. So it was not nothing that they were shelling out for these puts. And as I mentioned, the stock when they put these puts on was $34.82. Since then, it has pretty much done nothing but rally all the way up to 36.02 yesterday. And then it has since kind of fallen off back down to, got down to as low as 34.40, hanging out right now at about 34.80, which is pretty much exactly where it was when these puts went up, Mr. Rock Lobster. So at least so far, if one of the primary reasons that they bought these bad boys was for earnings, they're not exactly smiling on the earnings front. Now, stock-wise, obviously these are probably underlying holders. They're probably pretty happy out there that the stock didn't completely fall out of bed, but still, maybe not the banger that they were hoping for. It's like these things are still trading around 75 cents. They actually printed at one point $1 this morning, so they could have scratched these for a moment. They have since come in, obviously, down to about 70 odd cents or so. So the moment to scratch these is probably gone. Then again, if you ask the stockholder, would they rather have the stock go up or the puts pay off? Maybe they'd rather have the stock sell off sharply, sell the puts, and then have the stock rally. That'd be the ideal scenario, but we're not seeing that here. So Mr. Rock Lobster, they still have a month. They haven't taken these bad boys off. Only a couple of hundred have traded today. So they're still riding it all the way through February expiration. But it does seem like a lot of the impetus, a lot of the steam has gone out of these puts, sir. What say you?
I'm not going to disagree with that one there. You know, the earnings are out, and it does look like there was a substantial amount of call volume today on the 34 strike. So I mean, just with how the market's been acting, when you think with interest rates going up and, you know, and the homes builders should be shredded, you're just not seeing it. I mean, from October to January, the stock's up like $8. So, I mean, they were looking for earnings. I think they had a little shot there this morning, but I don't know. It feels like their time has passed on this one. I'm gonna do the rare thing and concur with you for once. I mean, I'm in a good mood.
I say, who is this polite, nice, well-spoken Rock Lobster? What have you done with Andrew? You're right, though. Exactly. Someone did have a good scoop this morning. They came in right pretty much on the low for the day for the stock, right around 34 3/4. They bought 4,712 of the Feb 34s. They paid $220. The stocks is about $38 now, listeners. So do the math. They're going to be worth more than $2. So that's a nice little scoop there. So someone looking pretty good there. You're right. The 34s are looking pretty good. We'll have to see if they dump those or if they keep riding those. But right now, they're looking pretty good on those, Mr. Rock Lobster. Were you busy scooping some Feb 34s this morning?
I have to say, sadly, I have been engaged with other tasks, but I'm always happy for the scoopy that manages to get on the show and make some bucks.
Yes, we will live vicariously through them. How about this to put a smile on your face, Mr. Rock Lobster? Let's just dial the Wayback Machine all the way back to the heady go-go days of 2021. Meme stocks were rampant and everything was going up. You remember those days, Mr. Rock Lobster?
I do. I think you just buy anything and it went up.
You did. You just bought anything and it went up. And one of the primary offenders, one of the big movers of that period was rocket companies. You remember these, Mr. Rock Lobster?
I do remember Rocket making that moonshot move to like $30 one day and then came all the way back down to earth. Like $28 maybe. And then came all the way back down to earth.
Yeah, it's not, spoiler, it's not that high there. Yeah, $28. Good memory. 28.42. That was the high for them. They actually topped out in late 2020, so they didn't even make their high in 2021, which is interesting. They only topped out at about $25 in March of 2021. But nonetheless, Mr. Rock Lobster, they are back on our radar. We're going back to Rocket, listeners. Trading right now, ticker symbol, of course, RKT, trading $8.40. So they've sold off about $6 on the year. Let's see, a year ago, where they were trading about 14 1/4. as you mentioned, they topped out at about $28 back in August and about 20. There we go. Let's go the right way. There you go. About $25 in March of 2021. And over the course of the past year, they topped out at about $14.32. They actually hit their high. They sold off from Jan, then they rallied again in March of last year, up to $14.32. Then they sold off. They got to their low for the year. It's like they flirted with this level a couple of times. The first time was on June 17th, $5.97, and they rallied all the way back up to 11.25 on August 16th. Then they sold off again back down to about 6.25. So they flirted with that around $6 level a couple of times during the year. Then they rallied it again in December up to $8.50. Then it sold off again December 28th down to $6.64. And since then, the last couple of weeks, it has looked a lot better, rallying from $6.64 all the way back to about $8.40, $8.38, where it is right now. Mr. Rock Lobster, somebody thinks that the dial has been set back to 2021 because they're coming for some meme-style paper today, including what first caught our eye, a block of 6,920 of the June 10 calls. Yes, the 10 calls. Let's see. When's the last time this stock traded over 10? You got to go all the way back to pretty much early April. That's when it broke 10 in the wrong direction, April 6th. It was at 10.06, and then it sold below there. And ever since then, it quickly broke it in August, ever so briefly for like a day. But other than that, it's pretty much been since April. So this thing is betting for a return to at least early 2022 form. They scooped up 6,920 of these for 51 cents. That is a 55 vol. Then they came back and did more, 2,104 for 48 cents. And we also saw 1,000 going up again for 50 cents. Let's see, total on the day now for these of 13,012 on the day. So folks loving themselves, some June 10s lifting the offer, going through the offer. Mr. Rock Lobster, can you feel it in the air? Can you feel the tingle? Can you feel the excitement of the return of the meme stock days heralded by all this call love in Rocket, sir?
Yeah, well, I guess Rocket traded at that crazy low multiple, I guess because all the smart guys are like, once rates go up, this company's not going to make any money anymore. And then rates went up and they didn't make any money anymore. Now, it might be the opposite because if rates are plateauing in the short term, right, and they're going to stay where they are, Rocket might actually be able to do some refinance. So maybe people are getting ahead of the rate move with these calls. But it also passes the 1-day test because they're trading 65 cents already. So something's going on.
Something is going on indeed here. Let's see what we can wrap it up with here. Listen, how about a newcomer to the odd block? Let's go out to LILAK. Yes, ticker symbol LILAK, LILAK. That's a mouthful. I don't see many 5 tickers anymore. This is Liberty Latin America Limited Class C. Trading right now $8.90, up about 21 cents on the day. A year ago, it was trading about $11.10. Hit their high for the year on February 16th of $11.66. And then they started coming for it. They drove it down to its low for the year by September of $5.88. So since then, it has rallied pretty much exactly $3. So a nice little pop for them here, $8.90 right now. And it seems like, Mr. Rock Lobster, we got another person out here feeling the optimism, feeling the exuberance. All is right with the world again because someone scooped 5,000 of the April 10 calls. They paid 60 cents for these bad boys. This is a 55 vol. The stock was $8.80 when these went up. So, Mr. Rock Lobster, here's a new favorite for your watch list, sir. LILAK, and someone scooping a ton of calls on the 10 strike yet again. So, what say you?
Yeah, I wonder if this isn't like Liberty Cable. I can't find any.
Yeah, I don't know what they are. You're right. It sounds like it, but I can't tell what they are. There's something out of Latin America though, so I don't know exactly. Maybe it's just a similar name.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely sketchy, and I can't see any earnings history or anything. But yes, this is Hope Springs Eternal, like a LILAK, I guess, as they buy these things up. So that's, it looks like good old fashioned. The market is full of these stocks that are in the 6, 7, 8 handle that were a lot more. Now, I don't think this stock was really ever a high flyer. It was an $11.50 stock. So, maybe folks are thinking the era of good feelings getting back to 40, 4,000, 4,000, 4,100, something like that. And a lot of these junk stocks lift.
Only real news I can find about this is that the guy who did the Big Short bought a position in this back in November of last year. But outside of that, I'm not finding a lot of it. It's a telecom. But outside of that, I can't see much on what this name does outside of that. So intriguing stuff, but someone's popping. Mr. Rock Lobster, would you rather have the Liberty April 10s for 60 cents or the Rocket June 10s for 50 cents, sir?
I'd rather have the Rockets.
Yeah, you get more time in the cheaper.
I would rather have the Rockets.
And your stock is pretty close to the $8.80 for one stock, $8 for the other. So stocks are pretty close in level as well.
Right. So I would opt for that for sure.
And we shall opt for a little bit of you folks. It is time for the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Mail Block, the portion of the show where you guys take the reins, your questions, your comments. We also turn the spotlight back on you with our questions of the week. This week we asked you folks, it's that time, our annual sentiment poll. We asked you, if you could buy 10% out of the money call on one of these following markets or segments, which one would you choose? It expires at the end of the year, by the way. You're going to choose the S&P, you're going to choose Bitcoin, you're going to choose WTI or VIX. Mr. Uncle Mike, what do you think our audience ended up choosing, sir?
S&P, I'll go with that.
You're surprised. What if I had put gold or silver on there? Would that change your vote at all?
I don't know. I think we got some bulls out there the more I think about it.
All right. Bullish folks it is for Uncle Mike. Mr. Rock Lobster, do you agree or vehemently disagree? What do you think our folks voted for?
I think they're voting SPX, and I agree. I think I'm just seeing there's a little bullish action.
And the answer is yes. Our folks did go pretty firmly for S&P, either SPY or SPX. Pick your poison, listeners. 43.3%. That compares actually pretty favorably. I just pulled up the data from last year. We asked the same question last year this time. And last year, you guys were still bullish, but only 33.9% of you chose the S&P, followed by about 27% for WTI, about 25% for VIX, 14% for Bitcoin. This year, the numbers broke down 43.3% for the S, a tie for number 2, which is weird, 24.4% each for WTI and VIX, and then no joy for Bitcoin, pretty much half of its percent last year, 7.8%. So no love out there for the crypto. You guys have been listening to Uncle Mike over there, as well as a tie for equal love between WTI and VIX, and not quite half of you, but a pretty decent percentage choosing the old indices. And at least so far, you're looking all right on those 10% out of the money calls back when we posted this poll. S&P was a wee bit lower out there. Let's see if we could squeeze in. Let's go to, this is the fun one. This is one of our pro listeners. This is Pariah Pants. He just tweeted in a photo. He sent this in the day after Christmas. He had a photo of some weird book by some loser, Sebastian. I don't know what it is. He has a picture of him holding up trading options for Edge. And he wrote, "Weird book under my Christmas tree. Never heard of the guy, but it smells like meatballs and an Olive Garden." Merry Christmas. Oh, there. He just outed himself. He clearly is a listener. There we go. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yes. That you know who would really giggle at that one? The actual meatball, I think, would find that quite funny.
He would indeed. I will save that for him then. He will find it amusing as we keep on rolling, listeners, and go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, it is that time. Time for Uncle Mike and the Rock Lobster to regale us with what they're keeping an eye on for the rest of this week until our Monday episode. Actually, no, we're on MLK Day on Monday, are we not? So we're going to be off for a week again. Crazy times, listeners. All these vacations I give to these guys. I'm so magnanimous here. Mr. Uncle Mike, we'll start with you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on now for a full week?
I mean, it's going to be sad not being on the OB for a whole week, but we will endure. I mean, right now we got earnings and 4,000. 4,000 is the big key number in the SPX right now, watching that. And then watching if bonds can continue to rally. I don't know if it's a little bit long in the tooth right now in the rally with which they've had so far, but definitely going to continue to watch them. That is for sure.
Mr. Rock Lobster, same question for you. What are you keeping an eye on now for a full week out there, sir?
Wow. You are magnanimous. A full week. Well, as much as I am watching, will 4,000 hold? And also will all these little junk stocks start to breathe again and live? So I find all of these things interesting. And then lastly, too, is there another leg up in oil? So I think there's certainly a possibility there.
Another leg up in oil, you say? Well, you have good timing because they're coming up in a little bit for all you pro folks and a little bit later for all you on-demand folks out there. We will be joined by Miss Carly Garner to break down all the madness going on out there in the world of futures, options, what's lighting it up out there in, I don't know, WTI, nat gas, silver, gold, rates. You pick your poison out there. Fluid milk. We'll see what's moving and shaking out there. And TWIFO in a little bit. Live folks, hangouts. We'll pump some fun stuff in the live chat. Be back in a little bit with TWIFO live directly in your ear holes. All you on-demand folks, wait till it hits the network and then hit play out there. But before we do that, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if folks want to check you out, they got a whole week to reach out to you, ask you questions. Where should they go? What should they do?
Check out my website, stcharleswealth.com. Make an appointment to have a conversation with me, and I will gladly do such a thing. Feel free to watch me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. It's just type in St. Charles Wealth Management, or follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, TOSAW.
And Mr. Rock Lobster, same question for you, sir. Where should folks go if they want to learn more about the land of the pit?
Yes, optionpit.com, 888-TRADE-01. Ask for Ted or other Andrew. And they will be happy to give you 10% off a myriad of our products: education, trading ideas, sheets, all kinds of trading tools to help you become awesome.
That's right. You guys even have sheets. I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah, they're quite popular.
You can go run your own sheets, and you can stand with a couple of your friends around you on some stairs and pretend you're in the S&P circa 1999. Good times. You can say to the guy next to you, no, you're off in March. Your levels are wrong. I'll sold to you. You could be that guy.
Yes.
All sorts of good memories. Thanks for bringing those back, Mr. Rock Lobster. Check them out over there for you.
I perform it.
Over there. Check them out. Optionpit.com is the place to go. We got to get on out of here. But like I said, back again in a little bit for all you pro folks with TWIFO. And then back again tomorrow, listeners, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern for Ball Views. I do believe we have Mr. Jim Carroll joining us for the first time in the new year. Mr. Vixologist, I'm sure he'll have some fun stuff to say. As well as after that, we'll break down the mad week that was with options, oddities out there. Then off on Monday, of course. Then back. Actually, I do believe we also have another pro Q&A session coming up tomorrow as well. So we got a lot of hot pro content coming at you over there for tomorrow. Then back again next week with our usual slate of content outside of Monday, all the way through to next Thursday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.